Hi everyone, welcome to Gricklish Outdoors. Today we are looking at the Fiskars harvesting knife. Is this a good knife for bushcrafting? Hopefully we're going to find out today. So stick around. So I spotted this knife online. I'm always looking for new cool knives and tools. I saw this, I thought it looked interesting, and although it says it's a harvesting knife, I just wondered whether it would be useful as a bushcrafting knife. Everyday sort of knife to have around camp. It's not that expensive, we'll go into that later on, but it looked quite interesting. Anyway, let's take a closer look. So there is the Fiskars harvesting knife. If I take it out of the box for you to get a closer look. It does come with a plastic sheath. It doesn't feel like it's the best quality plastic sheath in the world, but I'm sure it'll do the job. There is a loop on the side so you can hang it off your belt. But there is the actual knife. You see here it almost looks like a survival blade with the fact it's serrated at the bottom and at the top it's a smooth sharp blade. The blade does continue around to the edge so you can prod at things to cut things. It looks kind of cool, and potentially I was thinking it could be an alternative to a Mora knife, like a Mora heavy duty, something like that. When you slide it into the sheath, it goes in fairly well, but it does lock in place and is fairly secure in there. And you just a little bit more force to pull it out. I can't really see a problem with that falling out, to be honest. It does feel pretty good. So it does fit onto my belt very easily with that belt loop. It's got a little bit of flexibility, so if I do knock it or brush against something, it's actually not going to come off. It's fairly secure on there. To get it out, it's quite comfortable as well. Putting it back in, not the easiest, but it's still completely fine. But let's have a few facts and figures. The length of the knife is 277 millimeters. The blade depth is 27 millimeters. The blade length is 150 millimeters. The width of the blade is 2 millimeters and the width of the handle is 18 millimeters. The total length of the blade including the sheath is 288 millimeters. It has an extended tang. On the Fiskars website they don't specifically say what this is, so I presume it's a slightly longer tang than on a normal knife, but not a full tang. The knife weighs 171 grams including the sheath. The blade material is stainless steel, although Fiskars do not state what stainless steel it is. It has an ergonomic handle with two different types of polymer. One thing I can tell you is the blade does feel very, very sharp. Razor sharp, in fact. I can't see it have any problems cutting through things like your food, through pieces of wood, plants and whatever else you might want to use it for. It has got a nice thick blade too, I like that. It does feel chunky. It does feel, I must admit, like a cheaper knife, but it also feels like it's fairly tough. The thing that adds to the cheap feel of it, I think, is the sheath. It's a cheap plastic sheath. I know knives like Mora's have a cheapo plastic sheath as well, but this feels just a little bit cheaper than that. It does feel pretty rugged though, so I'm quite impressed with that. So a piece of paracord. Let's see if that serrated part cuts through that. Yeah, dead easy. We double it over. Yeah, super easy. Even the top part as well. Razor sharp, but serrated part works very well for things like paracord and rope. I know serrated blades aren't really meant for it, but can we use it as a mini saw on here, on this little piece of wood? Well, on a dry, not very strong piece of wood, yes. Although if I'm being honest, it doesn't really have the teeth for that sort of thing. It's meant to be for like green plants and like pruning, that sort of stuff, not for wood. Normally when I'm having a blade and I'm carving, I do not like a serrated edge. So that means we're going to have to carve using the top part of the blade only, which is fine for detailed work. As you can see, it's cutting through this dry wood very easily. Could I carve a little bit with the serrated part if I needed to, because it is more comfortable doing it lower down? Yes, it does go through. Not as good as a straight, non-serrated blade, of course, but yeah, still could cut through. Could definitely use this for carving. A little bit long for carving very detailed items, I believe. Might be a bit tiring on the thumb, but in the hand it actually feels quite nice. That grip, slightly textured on the orange part, smoother on the black part, has got a little lip there for safety, which most people like having a finger guard. And of course you can use the front of the blade to push cut, as long as you're careful. So yeah, it's quite adaptable for small amounts of carving, I think. If we want to use this as an all-round bushcraft knife, how about things like getting a spark from it with a fire steel? It doesn't have a really sharp angle on the back for generating sparks, but it isn't smooth either, so let's give it a try. Well, I don't think it's designed for that, but it works. It can generate a spark. It kind of is scratching the back of the blade a little bit by using it for that, but it's still intact. It worked for an emergency. You could use this with a fire steel to light a fire. But of course, if you're in a real push, then you could use the serrated part of the knife as well. If I show you now. It's not the best thing for the blade itself, but in an emergency, again, if you can't get the spark off the back of the blade, you could use the serrated part. Now, of course, you might not want to use this for bushcrafting task. Maybe you want to use it for actual harvesting or maybe pruning. So how good is it at that? We have a plant here we want to get rid of. Let's see if we can use that tip to just cut through it. Yeah, that easily goes through there. Trims off things very easily. Something bigger and thornier. Yeah, cuts straight through. You don't have to get your hands involved and get spiked. How about pruning one of these branches back? We might use the serrated part for this. Yeah, nice smooth movement through a green branch. With that sharp tip, you can also use it for digging. If you want to dig to plant something, if you're using it in the garden, or potentially if you need the toilet in the mountains, you don't have a little shovel or a little trowel with you, you can use that to dig a hole for your business. So it's quite a big knife, and sometimes in an emergency you have to push the knife a little bit. So what if we had to try and break through a larger branch, hacking away at it? How would the blade fare? Let's find out.
Well, after all that hacking, there is a slight chip on the blade. Remember, this blade is stainless steel. It's not going to be quite as hard as the carbon steel blades out there. There's a very, very slight dint on it. Yeah, that could quite easily be worked out though with a little bit of a puck or a sharpening stone, so I'm not too worried about that. But really, hacking away at that log, I thought it wouldn't have survived, and yet it still feels pretty sharp. Just a little minor little chip out the side, very, very minor. It almost makes it look like the serrated part has extended a tiny bit, but it's so minor. So I'm quite impressed by the strength. So the Fiskars harvesting knife with sheath. Do I like it? Yeah, I think it's all right. Could you use it as a bushcrafting knife? Yes, I definitely think you could. Is it the best budget bushcrafting knife you could get out there? Probably not, to be honest. Does it compete with other budget bushcrafting knives out there? Yeah, in a way. Is it as good as a Mora heavy duty, or even a Hultafors knife, or even the Fiskars' own heavy duty knife? Then probably not. Not for bushcrafting anyway. This is a bit of a jack of all trades kind of knife. It's good for around the garden. It's probably good for around camp. Definitely would be usable as a bushcrafting knife. But if I was in an emergency situation, would I want to rely on this one? I could, but I wouldn't want to have to do, if you know what I mean. Well, that brings me to the price. Well, for this Fiskars harvesting knife, I paid a cent under 21 euros. Now, for a knife of this size, of this quality, do I think that's okay? Yes, I do. I do think it does overall feel a little bit cheaper than the competitors. I don't know why that is. It just kind of does. Maybe it's the handle. Maybe it's just the feel of the sheath. Nothing against Fiskars, because they do make quality tools, and this has survived my testing today. But yeah, I'd probably go for something different. I do recommend it if you want a knife around the garden, if you're, pruning and just want a little handy kind of multi-use blade. Yes, it's definitely very useful for that. But still, I'd probably go for the more heavy duty, to be honest. I'm not a big fan of blades which have part serration on them. Some people might like that. I personally don't. But if you do, then this could be one for you. I mean, obviously there are much better knives out there, including one by Gerber, which has a combination of the straight and serrated blade. But for 21 euros, probably in the US less than $20, I don't think that's a bad price. It's good, it's tough, it kind of looks okay. I like the fact it's got an orange handle. It means it'll stand out. There's just something about it where I just can't gel with it. I haven't been using it for that long, but I usually get a feel for a blade quite quickly. And I'm not sure if it's the size. It's kind of a weird shape. I like it, and at the same time, I don't quite like it. Let me know what you think, though, of this in the comment section below. Is it a kind of knife that you would use yourself personally? If you're in countries like the UK, then of course you cannot carry this around with you when you are camping or hiking. Let me know in the comment section below if this is the kind of knife that you like to use. One with part serration, one with has a tip which is also used for push cutting. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. For me personally, I like it, but I don't like it at the same time. And on that note, I'll end the video. Yeah, do let me know your thoughts on this one though. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Take care, much love. See you next time.